Welcome back to the show. Thanks for being here. Please hit subscribe, like, share. If you dig this podcast, 53% of the people that listen are not subscribed, so please hop on. It really does help. Today's guest, very special guest, means a lot to me to have him. His name's Dan Tyminski, and he is the voice behind the song Man of Constant Sorrow from the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou with George Clooney. He is the singer on the song Hey Brother by Avicii. He's also in the recent documentary on Netflix called I Am Tim about Avicii's life. He is best known for his work as well with Alison Krauss Union Station. He's a bluegrass country musician with 14 Grammys, and you're in for a treat. Please welcome to the show, Dan Tyminski.
This is the Stephan Hogan Podcast.
This is one of the rare moments I'm not with my wife.
Really?
We travel together. Yeah, we're 24/7.
That's cool. How long have you been married?
4 years?
4 years?
Three and a half.
3?
It'll be 4, I think, on the next.
How'd you meet her?
I met her at the golf course that I was playing at Legends in Franklin. She was a bartender, and I had been out of a relationship for a pretty good while.
Yeah.
And was speaking to my friend and said, it was time I'm ready to start dating. I think I need to, get myself out there.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, what about Miss Catherine behind the bar? And I looked, my eyes aren't great. I looked at, and all I could see from my angle was she was too young for me. And I said, yeah, that's that whole half your age plus 7. I said, I don't think applies to me that well. And he said, no, she's got kids in high school. She's older than you think. And I looked at her again like that. And I said, yeah, but she's from Alabama. I said, she could have had kids when she was 12. I don't know. Right. I don't know. And of course I ended up meeting her and speaking with her, and we're like 2 years apart. Like we're virtually the same age. Yeah. She was just very well preserved.
Wow.
Yeah.
She took good care of herself.
Yeah. Well, she's got that very fair skin, red hair. So she's never seen actual sunlight.
Oh.
No actual sun has ever hit her skin.
Yeah.
That anyone's aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of, because I like to go get in the sun as much as possible, because it just feels
You
good.
have the fair skin. Yeah.
But I am fair skinned, so I get sunburnt easy.
She does. If you pull the shades up, she puts on suntan lotion.
Oh, I bet, man.
Sunblock. It's part of her existence.
Are you a Rick Rubin fan at all?
Rick Rubin, help me.
He's the producer, long beard, long hair, Beastie Boys.
Right. I know him. I'm not going to say big fan,
but he gets he lives in Malibu. Well, did. I don't know where he's at right now because of the fires, but he every day would like walk shirtless on the beach, and he's like super tan.
Yeah.
Always barefoot. And I'm like, I'd like to be like that, just because I'm originally from California. So
I can handle the sun all right. My skin does all right in it. But still, man, when you get that big sunburn, nobody likes that.
No.
Try to stay away from it.
Yeah. I do sometimes go to Planet Fitness and go to the tanning bed when I'm real depressed. And I need some vitamin D. I take vitamin D as a supplement, but I need it.
Yeah, I do too, or I'm supposed to. I have it. When I remember, I take it.
Yeah.
You should, especially, I'm at the age where it's important. You got to start adding.
I just found out you're supposed to take it with K2.
It's a DK supplement.
Yeah, I didn't know that forever. I was just doing one, so now I got K2 in there.
I'm getting into all the stuff now. I'm getting older and much more appreciative of health and good health, and to the point where make all my own foods and bake all our own bread and ferment stuff and starting to freeze dry stuff and just trying to get really healthy. My new thing the night before last night, bought a yogurt maker. I'm very excited.
Oh, that's dope.
Very excited to start.
All probiotics and stuff, man.
Super, super gut health.
Dude.
Yogurt. Yeah.
I'm so interested in gut health because of the brain gut connection. And
100%.
And then the leaky gut problem that so many of us have, myself included. I went to a place in Brentwood called the Maxwell Clinic, and they did blood work on me, and they're like, yo, you got leaky gut. So I took out gluten and
A lot
eggs.
of people do. Yeah. So a lot of people do. For me, like a few years back, I stopped eating sugar and I cut out virtually, I mean, the first 4 months, particularly, a little over 4 months, no sugar, nothing that turned to sugar.
Like no fruit.
No fruit, no
Oh, wow.
potatoes, no rice, breads, no anything, just salads, steaks, eggs.
Wow.
You know, some cheeses.
I bet you leaned up real fast.
I was 100 pounds ago. Yeah. That's
crazy.
I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was trying to fix blood work. You know, my blood work was not like I liked. And it was in the first stage of diabetes and just a bunch of stuff that the doctor wanted me on. I think 3 different medications. He says, 2 of them you have to be on. He says,
but I bet he didn't say, hey, well, if you changed your diet.
Well, listen, no one says that. This is the thing. So when I went and took 4 months and got really righteous with the no sugar and went for my next checkup, I went back and I got my blood work back and you could frame it and put it on the wall. It's so beautiful. It's in the actual perfect target area of every category, you know, whatever, there's 15 categories and it's perfect. There's your body wants to be good if you don't poison it, and sugar really is our poison. That's the big bad one.
And it's in everything.
It's almost uncontrollable. You have to be. It's a little work to not have any.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
really.
got to be conscious of it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Are we good? Everybody good? Love you.
Bye, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
See you, Haley. Bye.
Is the fan over there off?
Yeah, I turned it off. How's the audio? Everything good on that? I think that door is going to keep doing that. Oh, wait. Haley's got it. The moisture, lack thereof, or whatever it is, makes our door not close. But yeah, dude, gut health, man. Do you know who Gary Brecka is? He's another one of those online health guys.
I don't.
There's
I found
so
it through
many
Dr.
of 'em.
Gundry. There's this guy, Gundry, who specializes, you know, in gut health that I started, you know, so I first found him, you know, several years back and got some of whatever he was pitching. And then decided I didn't want to take any pills to do anything like that when it's all food. I mean, you can really take really good care of yourself with a little bit of awareness and making your own food. Mostly.
Yeah, man. Instead of processed.
Anything
you
buy with
do you do grass fed? Like grass fed
beef,
organic?
grass fed, but absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. It's, you know, it's a little more, but it's the only thing I do. You know, I've weeded out most of the things that I used to blow my money on. And if I'm going to obsess about one thing, you know, the food and how right down to our pets. I mean, my pets eat better than most people.
I bet.
No doubt about it. I mean, we made our dog food, you know, we made a batch of dog food the other day and I was like, you know, I was in there with a spoon.
Yeah, because you're giving them like what, chicken and stuff? Or
yeah, like it's just sweet potatoes and quinoa and chicken and like this big, you know, we make a big batch of the food at a time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
because that's what they're meant to eat, man. That's what they're meant to eat. And all these, like we always have vet bills and like animals get cancer and it's like, you look at the food ingredients.
Look, we live in a neighborhood and just walking your dogs, you know, and having to pick it up.
Yeah.
Man, we live the dream compared to the other animals that we see what our neighbors have to deal with their pets. It's like, what do you feed that animal that makes him do that? It's like, it's unreal.
Yeah, man.
It's unreal. When you treat him well, everything is just great. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm 36, but I'm approaching, I feel like I'm 40, but there's a lot of stress that has just been in my life.
Sure.
Because I lost my dad recently and I lost my mom 2.5 years ago. So it's just like back to back, bang, bang.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah. I went through that a few years back.
Yeah, dude. And it's like physical almost, you know, the grief. And so,
sure. There's that. I mean, there are things in that realm you're not going to let go. You know, you learn how to live with them, but you can't separate yourself from that stuff. That's heavy.
Yeah, it is. But one of the things that I really got to thinking about was, I was like, man, with all the stress and stuff, I really need to start like upping my game on the health food level. So then I've gotten into like now we're trying to go grass fed and do some of those. Just like
you're doing it at a great time too. I mean, to be able to be aware of it when you're younger.
Yeah.
And start it before you start feeling bad. And you know, when you're not doing it to fix things, but doing it as preventative, man, you have such a huge head start. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be
And I
aware of
bet
that
you
stuff.
feel great too.
Compared to how, I mean, I didn't realize I was feeling bad before, right? It wasn't, it didn't dawn on me that I was sluggish, standing up or going upstairs or the energy level, ever dropping or whatever. And, you take the sugar away and you have that even energy, man. You're burning fat and all of a sudden I sleep less, but I sleep better. I feel more rested with less sleep. Everything, it goes through the whole of my life. It's made changes in every facet.
What about caffeine?
No, I still consume caffeine.
All right, good.
I do
was gonna
consume
say.
caffeine. No, I'm a coffee head, and
Me too.
for years I buy green beans. I roast my own coffee, and I'm very particular in so my coffee is the one thing I can control in my day that I know I have full control over. So I don't have a cup of coffee in the morning. I have a cup of science. Man, it's very specific.
Okay.
Weight, type of water, temperature, everything about my cup of coffee is very specific.
Are you going pour over?
So I have every
French press?
I have
mean, you
every
have it
method
all.
you can imagine to make. I mean, whatever the mood is, I can go there. Most of the time for myself, I do a pour over or an AeroPress. Like when I travel with AeroPress. It's the best traveling setup for me.
Small.
But at home, I have this pour over that has a little gadget on it that stops the pour over, so you can still let it's a combination drip / immersion.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm fancy schmancy at home, but I also have the machine where you can press a button and it does everything for you, grinds and tamps and makes your whole drink. I stay away from that. I just like a really good pour over for me because I feel like I have the control.
That's cool.
It's my one.
I'm big into coffee, man. I'm the same
Yeah,
way.
me too. Yeah,
I've thought about, because you can buy like small roasters on Amazon, and I got a buddy that does it. But I'm like now testing out different beans because they all taste so different, and then there's blends.
And then depending on how you like your coffee, whether you use cream, whether you don't use cream, it makes a big difference. I mean, whether you're roasting light coffee or dark roast coffee, the water temperature makes a big difference. How you make that. I mean, there's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
In making a cup of coffee, you can have 3 different cups of coffee with the same water and coffee, just how you prepare it. So it's a big deal when you get into it. You have to find what speaks to you.
But it's a morning ritual too.
For me, it is.
It's
my first 15 minutes of the day, or I have a little coffee nook in my kitchen where it's just everything coffee. And I spend my first 10, 15 minutes, selecting and grinding and
then bloom.
Doing whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I have a very specific, bloom. Yeah, it has to bloom for 40 seconds before I can let the first water through. And then let that bloom water down through.
Yeah.
Then I close it back off and I give it another, 200 grams and then I wait another, 20 seconds and I let it through. And then I've got my little system for me. Yeah.
You need to make like a tutorial, the Dan Tyminski coffee.
If I thought it applied to everybody, like I would, my tutorial would be experiment and find out what works for you, because I have something that I repeat over and over again that works for me, doesn't mean it's going to be your perfect cup. Like it took me a long time to find it. I got into it over COVID and started, messing around.
It's a good hobby. Coffee. Like for me, I've had a hard time finding a hobby outside of like work, where it's just like something like, what do you do that's just fun? And so
I've been roasting about 20 years, and it's an amazing, it's an amazing, again, to have that type of control over your coffee beans, because I can't tell you the times leading up that I bought a bag of coffee, it's saying one thing and then opening it up and thinking, wow, it should have been darker, it should be oilier, it should be whatever. I mean, when you do it yourself, you know exactly what you get.
Are you going dark roast or light roast generally, or medium?
As I have progressed through my coffee, my roast has gotten lighter and lighter through the years. It started years ago, very dark, very oily, up to more of a medium dark, up to a medium. Now I'm in that as medium as dark as I go. I'm from that light to medium range because there's more coffee.
It's like wine.
As I progress, I go lighter and lighter. That's me.
Yeah. When I moved to Nashville and I started drinking coffee here at some of the places that roast, and I would see the beans and they wouldn't be oily, and I'd drink it, I'd be like, this doesn't taste like coffee. This tastes like fruit. Like, what is this junk? This is garbage. Because where I grew up, like Sacramento, California area in the foothills, but like we had Starbucks, obviously, and Pete's Coffee and
I
that's
love
and
pizza coffee.
and pizza I like a lot. But I would do espresso, but everything was on the darker side.
Mhm.
And as I've lived here, I've gotten more and more and more into like lighter because I've appreciated it, but it's taken time. Like
I do. I mean, I'm to the point now to where I still have I have to put heavy cream in my coffee, right? I don't drink coffee just black.
Me neither.
Like people probably should. You hear a lot of people say.
Cream makes it brings something out of it,
Right.
man.
And different coffees definitely work much better with cream than
I agree.
others, like the ones that they advertise that are really fruity, acidy coffees. I don't like as much with the cream. You know, there are a couple that I always go back to that work really well with cream. And then I'll always experiment with some kind of new bean that's, you know, I'm never happy. So I keep experimenting, but I have the base of what I do down between, you know, two beans that I buy a lot of. Then a little bit I'll always experiment just because it's fun.
Yeah.
Really
At
is fun.
breakfast with Topher, we had they served crema where we were at. Crema coffee.
Love it.
And I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Local. I can talk to you about coffee all day long, but
I know
this might bore
could be a
people.
coffee podcast. I'm telling no, it was
that's interesting. Like the health stuff to me is just big. And then you're a big golfer too.
Spent a lot of time golfing. You know, when I moved away from the Northeast, I essentially moved away from foosball, which was my passion
That's
growing
what
up.
Topher was telling me. Was
that was, you know,
you were like really good, like a champion or something.
I'm no world champion. I mean, I had a room full of trophies when I moved away, you know, in the 80s from playing foosball. I grew up playing foosball. And when I stopped in 89 and started playing golf, and golf just filled the gap that you know, foosball, because golf travels everywhere I would go. There's a golf course everywhere. And unlike foosball, golf, you don't have to have someone of a similar skill level. You can play golf with anybody, man, and have a blast, right? You can have a great golfer and a hack, have the best time ever.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So golf really became my thing for the next, you know, from 89 until, you know, here these I'm starting to actually play a little bit more again. I'm fascinated with the game. It's just a really hard game that's unbeatable. And I just find the quest to try to get, you know, to figure it out.
Yeah, man,
it takes me over, man. I spent a lot of time. I mean, I spent 10 years, 6 days a week.
Are you
every day?
Are you tight with Vince Gill? Are you guys friends?
Yeah.
Because I know he's big into golf.
Yeah, Vince is a really good golfer. I mean, I played in, I filled in Vince's band in the past, you know, for some of his band guys when they couldn't make it. And yeah, we did. We played more days than we didn't when we were out there on the golf course. He's better than most when it comes to that game. He spent a lot of time. All his youth, where I spent mine on the foosball table, man, he was on that golf course, man.
Yeah.
He's a good golfer.
Did you ever beat him?
I've never played him on that platform to beat him. I don't know. You know, I'd have to, maybe if I got in his head, man, if I really like got in there and talked some trash, you know, really got in his head, maybe I could come close. You know,
I called him an hour ago, and he's probably writing or something, but I wanted to know. I was like, if you were playing Dan, who's going to win?
If we're going to be honest about it, I wouldn't put any big bets on it because he's a more complete golfer than I am.
Yeah.
There was a period of time where I played pretty good golf when I was playing it. When I was in that period of 6 days a week, you know, for the 10 years, I was a scratch golfer. I was a 1 handicap, whatever, a .06. That was my lowest handicap. But I could shoot some low scores. And again, if you have a good day on the golf course and someone else has a bad day, can I beat someone? Possibly. Would I beat him more often than not? No, hell no. He's a better golfer than I am. I have 2 boys that are better golfers than I am by so much. It's really comical that, you know, they have to give me strokes and give me distance, you know, and, you know, I played my son. I actually wait a second. I beat my son for the first time in years 2 days ago.
Oh.
I beat him. He has to give me, now he gives me, you know, 2 strokes aside.
Okay.
Because he's like a +4 handicap. I mean, he's a really good golfer. My boys are like +4 and +6, right? So they can really play. So they give me strokes, but I kept it in play all day, and I've got the most special $10 Venmo I've ever had in my life. You know, I took a screenshot.
Oh,
you know, I'm gonna print it out, frame it.
Frame that bad boy.
Oh, I'm telling you what, $10 out of his pocket is tough to dig out of there. Yeah.
Dude, it's interesting that you said you played in Vince Gill's band because one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about and was interested in is for over a century, Korchmar has been crafting leather goods that embody timeless elegance and unmatched quality. Since 1917, their family owned and operated business has dedicated itself to perfecting the art of leather craftsmanship, ensuring that every piece tells a story of tradition and passion. Whether you're looking for a sophisticated briefcase, a stylish handbag, or a durable travel accessory, Korchmar offers a range of products designed to elevate your everyday life. I use their backpack every day, and let me tell you what, it is the nicest and best made piece of leather craftsmanship I've ever owned in my entire life. I'd rather buy something once and have it be nice than buy something on Amazon and have it break. Let's support United States businesses. Go to korchmar.com/discount/S15. KORCHMAR.com/discount/S15, or just enter S15 at checkout. The link will be in the show notes for that discount. Just click below. Now back to Dan Tyminski. You, to me, are like the behind the scenes guy for a lot of amazing things in music, almost to the where it's like interesting to me because you were always like support in a way. And I don't want to speak on your behalf, but from my observation, and I know you put out your own music, and I remember buying on iTunes your albums when they were available because I was just a huge fan of your music. Because when Oh Brother Where Art Thou came out and I found out who sung that song, Man of Constant Sorrow, and it was you, I was like, oh, finally I know who this person is. Like that song made the movie. Without that song, that movie would not have been what it was. So anyway, all that to say, then I see the Alison Krauss Union Station stuff and like, you know, you collaborating with Avicii, which I want to talk about just because people will enjoy hearing that story. But now it's kind of like Dan Tyminski, the Dan Tyminski experience band. You're the guy now instead of backing up other people.
It's been a weird, I mean, we're in transition, you know?
Yeah.
For that, because what you said is true. I mean, I saw in my life, in my career, I have spent most of my life filling whatever hole was left. I didn't have a target when I set into any situation I've ever been in. There has been this in front of me, and hey, we don't have this. So I raise my hand and say, okay, then I'll do that. You know, from my earliest experiences, it was always I played whatever needed to be played to play with the people that I was with the Lonesome River Band. You know, it was mandolin because that's what they needed. You know, I wanted to be their banjo player. Grew up playing a banjo. That was what I always thought I would do. And then with Alison Krauss, they needed a guitar player. You know, I didn't play guitar, but I said, you know, absolutely. So I played guitar, and in anything I've done, that's been part of my skill set is to find the hole, fill that hole. Yeah, it's transitioning into it's a solo thing, and I'm finding the challenge now. No kidding is the name recognition, because people know me, but they don't know that they know me. You know, I get this in a lot of arenas, a lot of golf tournaments I'll play. You know, I like to walk up to the foursome, you know, and start talking with them before we're introduced and say, you know, I hope we don't have some hack country singer that can't golf in our foursome again. And they go, yeah, man, I hate when that happens, man. There's always some damn banjo player can't damn get the ball in the air, you know, give me shit. Now, I'm a decent enough golfer to where I can win, you know, I win their respect, you know, through being able to play golf. But it's funny. Yeah. I'm trying to get to the point where people realize that Dan Tyminski is a thing in and of itself, you know, and now, yeah, all my focus is doing my own thing. And it's really hard to explain because there's a newness that I haven't felt since I was a young man, watching the early stage, watching things grow. Like I had one hell of a ride with Alison in Union Station. I mean, I was there at a very early point in their career and got to watch a lot of stuff happen. Like it was just the most amazing ride, you know, but it was never Dan. It was never who I was. I was the character. I was the part. I filled the part that she needed for that band.
When you were in that season of life for that chunk of your career, was there a part of you that was like, I wish it was me? It was instead of like You know?
No, never. Not even once. I really felt all my time with that band, I felt like it was my calling. I felt like I was born, raised, trained specifically to do that. Like that was my identity as a musician, as a person, everything about it. I never pined to do a solo thing in those early years, all through that Alison stuff. Even when Oh Brother came out, there were offers post Oh Brother to follow up with something and do some solo stuff. And there was no part of me that wanted to be anything but Union Station. I just felt like that's who I was. There's a certain security in being that in a pack like that and not having to step out front. There's a lot more vulnerability to have that spotlight on you and stepping up. It's a whole different thing that I'm only just now starting to get a taste of and a taste for. And it's exciting in a whole new way. It's fresh, it's young, and and I hope it soars. Like I just have such a love for what I do, and like the thought of stepping out scares me. But that being scared, that challenge, oh man, that's life to me. That's what I'm trying to drink up, is overcoming that fear, stepping into that stage where I really think at this point in my career is where I'm supposed to be.
What about it scares you?
That anything, like as part of a band, anything that happens, you just kind of say, okay, well, what do you want me to do? There's someone directing you. When something blows up and your name is in front and it's on you, now there's hard decisions to me. Like there's, what do you do when band members can't make it? Or what do you do when the sound blows up, or when you've forgotten things, or there's now all of a sudden all the responsibilities are on your shoulders. It's a different, much more intimidating process than I've ever had in the past. It was really easy to be a band member. It's a lot more challenging to be a band leader.
Do you feel like shows are more stressful leading up to them?
I wouldn't say the shows are where I have much of my stress. I mean, the shows are kind of where I get to let my hair down and party. I mean, the show part, the playing of the show, that's the vacation. That's the easiest part of my job. That's the part I clearly like the most. I have the most fun playing, connecting with people. That speaks to me. So that's always going to be the fun part of the job. I've said for years, I've always played for free. I've only ever been paid to travel.
I like that. So if that's the easy part, what's the hardest part? Because you're
Travel.
saying that pressure, the pressure of the
travel
band.
And putting it together, and keeping 8 different people's schedule lined up and in order. There's always, something, and that something's never been on, my plate to deal with. And now that something is me. I really haven't had, it's not like I've run into a lot of trouble. There's just a lot more responsibility. Everything falls back to you, instead of as a band member for my life saying, well, whatever happened, I was completely clear, guilt. It could never fall back to me. I just did what I was told.
So it's almost like you're like an act on the come up in a sense, even though
there's no doubt about it. To me, I feel like an act on the rise, on the come up. I feel like I'm just starting, because again, that's where I'm playing. To every show I play, there are people still that they might have heard of me, but they're unaware of Dan Tyminski.
Yeah.
We ask, my wife travels with me. She does merch. She talks to all these people as they're walking in. She asks them, she gets I get a lot of amazing feedback. And people are just, someone has told them, come and see this guy or whatever. They don't know who Dan Tyminski is yet. When they leave, they're leaving and all their socials are, we're getting amazing response. It's been quite a ride to watch. I mean, to win people over is an amazing feeling, especially when you feel like some of the people there, there's a percentage, they don't know who you are. So it's not like they're, when people are your fans already, they're easy. You play your stuff. They're ready for it. As long as you play something familiar to them, they clap. But to win a new fan over that doesn't know who you are, you can tell all of a sudden I'll play, say, the Avicii song, Hey Brother. I can see 20% of the crowd go, the mind's blown. What in the world? Is this the guy? And the cell phones come out. Now all of a sudden, you can tell when something's right. as a performer, because the audience, all of a sudden, boom, every cell phone in the place. And that's still, this is, well, with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, that still happens, 25 years later.
Yeah.
The Avicii thing, it's now 14 years later, going to 15 years later.
Yeah, because that came out, I think, 2013.
Right. It's so, yeah, 13 years. It's a long time. It's still a big deal. Like it's so, yeah, I'm starting over, but I'm starting over from a place where I've kind of already, I have a seat in the arena. So it gives me a little more encouragement going in. It's nice to feel like there's a few bullets in the chamber.
Yeah. I had this conversation during the Super Bowl, but I'm not a listener of hip hop. So I wasn't super familiar with Kendrick Lamar. And I was like, I could sit on an airplane next to him and on a Southwest flight, and I would not know that he was going to do the halftime show. That's just me. And I feel like you're kind of that same person.
It's been a blessing it's been a blessing in my career, honestly, to be able to,
have what?
Anonymity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. Because the more, the more you recognize, the less of your own time you have. That's just plain and simple. And I have enough celebrity friends, that do not enjoy the freedoms that I do.
Yeah.
So I'm in a nice place, but I'm ready to make the sacrifice. You have to take what comes with the gig and along with being in the spotlight, and again, now I'm trying to get to that point where I won't be too upset if I start having trouble out in public, because that means good things are happening.
Oh yeah, man. And I think the cool thing is you're doing bluegrass, which is
trying to keep bluegrass cool, man.
So I grew up, as I said, in California. My dad had one CD of one bluegrass CD, and it was, I don't know, it was a Tony Rice CD, and it had a bunch of Martin guitar necks on it. And that was my introduction and only introduction to bluegrass outside of us listening to just our like favorite bands like the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac. But then like he threw in this Tony Rice CD and we listened to it all the time. And I was always thinking, because I'm a guitar player, I was always thinking, how do you play what he's playing with that precision and that speed? And it makes no sense because there's so many dissonant notes in it. It's almost like the South's version of jazz music that was like sped up in terms of like looking at it from a guitarist perspective. I've had such a respect because when you watch a band or a group like yours perform, everybody in that group is a phenomenal player. And it's something to be seen that you don't experience in any other kind of format or show.
It's funny when you talk about Tony and you talk about tempo. I can tell you're a guitar player because that's one of the things very few people actually speak of until they try to replicate what he's done. If you pick up a guitar and say, okay, now let's try to figure it out what he did. The first thing you realize is, oh my gosh, that's faster than hands can move. Like how is that possible?
Exactly.
That was the thing that blew me away most when I tried to learn Tony Rice stuff. Was that, wow, it's all faster than I thought. He was so proficient. His right hand was just, 1 in a million.
He was stoic.
He was special. Yeah. He was one of the chosen. He was just special above others. He had an amazing, the time it takes to develop the type of right hand he has, there's very few people willing to spend that type of time to do that. The payoff just isn't there to spend, a lifetime doing that down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up with such fluidity. Like he's the one I tell everyone. If you want to be amazed, you want to if you can do that, the other stuff you can do because you can do that is almost endless.
Yeah. I was showing my mother-in-law videos of him last night because I told her about you coming on the podcast, and she was real excited because she loves, obviously, some of those big songs you did. And I was like, yeah, well, check out this other guy too. Like, I think you'll dig this. And it was Tony.
Tony's the one,
she was
man.
just like, wow,
he's my biggest influence. Everyone that I know that I love, I think he is in a way responsible for why I love the other people. because of his influence on them.
Yeah.
Seriously, he carried that much weight for me, and I think for the music. What he did, he offered something the music didn't have before him.
Did you have someone to help instruct you on those styles of playing?
No, and I wish that I did. And my advice to young people starting out is start out with that. Even if you just took one good lesson, so that your fundamentals and a few of the things that you need to really do right from the start, develop some good habits. I developed very poor habits. I grew up a banjo player that never actually saw the banjo being played. So I heard it. So I knew what it sounded like. And when I replicated what I heard, I did it with a backwards pattern with my hands. So my fingers fall on different strings than other banjo players' fingers. I don't play the same strings with the same fingers. And after a couple of years of developing that style, couldn't change it. I'm still, 40 years later, I still play that way. Start out with some good fundamentals, and then, steer wherever your heart takes you. You got to make it your own.
Yeah.
But fundamentals, I do think, are important.
Yeah. And it's different with YouTube too, even now as a resource. Cause I think about it as like, if I had that when I was a kid, man,
I would be a different player. Everyone would be different.
100%.
Oh, it's amazing what's out there. Oddly, and I know we're still thick in music, and I don't mean to leave, but it's why I got back into foosball, because I started seeing it on YouTube. And now all of a sudden, where years ago I had to drive thousands or hundreds of miles and stand behind, rows of people to watch one professional play. Now I can watch every pro do every move they've ever done against the top players, and I've got a close-up view, so I can really, I know things immediately that took me forever to learn. Musically, same thing, man. That's my favorite thing to do, is comb through and find those nuggets, those precious, gems of videos where you get to see people doing stuff you would have never had it. You had to be there live and in person, which is, I grew up a big advocate of live music. I thought people should travel, go and watch it, live. And I say that in most every interview. That's my favorite part of music, is seeing it being created in front of you live, traveling, what the experience that comes with the travel, watching people play music. That's where it's at, to me. And back to Tony, when you got to see things like that, and they're my most memorable musical experiences, definitely the first times I saw him play. And then, I got to grow up, of course, and then later play with him and record with him and do some, travel with him. And
what was that like, playing with a hero?
I've been doing that for a while now, I feel like. So it's, it's humbling. I mean, you want to be on your best behavior. You want to be on top of your game. You want to know this. It was really weird because, I'm playing with Tony. Like, he came out and we did a tour with Alison Krauss Union Station and Tony Rice. And we shared, a lot of time together and a lot of music together. And especially Ron Block and I, we were so interested in picking his brain on, like, how did you come up with this kickoff? And what were you thinking when you did this? And because we knew every note he's played on every recording he's ever done. And, we've studied him inside and out. And, his mind wasn't at all like that. We're like, what were you thinking? And he was like, well, someone said, kick it off. So I said, 1, 2, up. And then just what I played, he explained it as if there was absolutely no thought whatsoever that went into these iconic kickoffs and solos. And the truth was, he was just at the top of his game. Yeah, they said kick it off, and boom, that's what he did. It just, who knew at the time that it was going to be that people would model their whole styles of playing off of the things that he was doing just off the cuff.
Yeah.
It's an amazing man.
One of the things I'm interested in bluegrass too, which I dig, because if you're listening to this and you listen to any kind of music, even if it's country, people play to, most of the time, they have in-ear monitors and play to click tracks. And in bluegrass, you guys don't have in-ear monitors and play to click tracks, to my knowledge.
Well, we don't play to click tracks.
You might have in-ears, though.
I do. Yeah, we do wear in-ear monitors. I mean, it's really nice that, there's technology now to where you can really hear yourself well. And the better you can hear yourself, the better you can play. So,
and then there's no monitors that create feedback problems with
you
the
can
mics.
can now turn it up, because bluegrass music forever, struggles with, as soon as you try to turn a monitor on stage, all those microphones pick it up. So you can't turn it up on the crowd. And, I've had a a lot of my life listening to people scream, turn it up.
Yeah.
And it's tough to turn it up. So yeah, we do whatever we can do to get maximum volume, but no, click tracks and stuff like that
in
don't
bluegrass
exist.
though, there's like almost a push and pull, because do you feel like some nights you play it faster, some nights you play it slower?
There is no doubt. I don't know if we've ever played a song in the exact same tempo ever. You know, it always, like for me, I know, like starting out, the first song or two, very important for me, is sets a tempo. If those first two songs are really fast, everything feels slow if it's not really fast with it. If they're too slow, everything feels fast. Yes, I might be more conscious of tempo than a lot of musicians that play. That is something that has always been extremely important to me. So when I say our songs are at different tempos, people would probably say, Tyminski, you're crazy. What are you talking about? They sound this. I mean, they're very close, right? But subtleties and tempo difference is a very big deal.
Yeah. And I was listening to Hey Brother on just watching a bunch of videos, and then listening to your different recordings, and then listening to the Avicii one, which was, by the way, when it came out, my favorite song. And I knew who was singing it at that point, which was cool, because Oh Brother, Where Art Thou in that song. But I was just like, I don't know what I was saying. What was I saying?
Oh, you were talking about, well, we're talking about when Hey Brother came out, and that we were talking about tempos of songs.
Oh, tempos. Yeah. Tempos. So the tempos for you, like I saw them different, and I noticed that you chose, when you recorded it, I think it was on your last record.
Mhm.
And then I compared it to the original tempo. The original tempo was slower
Most definitely.
than the tempo you did it at. And I loved yours that it was faster. Was that a conscientious decision?
I'm very aware of the tempo we recorded, the Avicii thing at, and we experimented at that tempo. The banjo, more than anything, just it felt right at a certain speed, right? So yeah, it was most definitely. I got to do that I got to go to Europe and do that at a show for Tim Bergling's foundation for a Better Day.
That was a big arena show.
The big arena show.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we got to combine the two songs, so it was really interesting. They let me, and now this we did play to like tracks, so because it had to be everything synced up, and it was so weird when it went from my version into the Avicii version, and you felt it slow, right? But the type of slow, like it took on a whole new flavor. It took on a whole new emotion, a whole new feeling. Like he couldn't have done his song at a different tempo any more than I could have done mine at a different tempo. Like that they were different was because they worked for what they were like his. Yeah. It's like it was a freight train when I heard it go to that tempo and come in. Like it's just a wow. Like it filled me up. And for me, with the acoustic instruments and the bluegrass style, definitely the more up tempo is what did it for me.
It lent itself to it for sure.
It was how
and the
I
solos
heard it.
And the playing and the picking and everything. I was like, this feels like right. And then I listened to Avicii's and I was like, man, did he do this too slow? Until it gets to the chorus and it hits you, and then you're just like,
you ride it. Yeah, you ride it.
Oh my goodness, man! But I was curious because there was a documentary a while ago that came out about Tim, and then the latest one, which is I think called I Am Tim.
Yeah.
And you were in that, and you talk a little bit about your story and being able to do that song with him. But would you share that? Because I think it's really cool kind of how that happened, and how, just like the plane analogy, you could be sitting next to him on the plane not knowing who he is.
Well, I wouldn't have known. I mean, so, okay, let's back up to the first phone call. Okay, my phone rings. It's my assistant. And I answer. She says, hey, we have this offer from this guy, plays EDM music, is wondering if you would want to sing a song on his record. where I'm at in life at this point is I didn't know what EDM was. I had to ask her, what is EDM music? And she goes, the club music. Right. And that just made me laugh. That was funny to me. And I was like, oh my God. I said, how about thank you, but no thank you. It's my immediate answer out of the gate. Thank you, no thank you. Being the quality person she was, she says, would you like to hear the song before we give an official no thank you? And I was like, sure, send me the song. So she's now sending me the song. And I think to myself, who do I know that listens to music that, Avicii, I'd never heard of him, right? I never heard of EDM, forget Avicii.
Had you heard the song now at this point?
I hadn't heard anything. I just hadn't heard anything. So I just want to know who the guy is. So at the time I had a 19-year-old daughter who happened to listen to all types of music, everything. She was just a fan of every genre. So I texted her, right? So have you ever heard of I wanted a quick response. I texted her. I didn't call her because she was a teenager. And you get a quick response from a text. For some reason, they will not answer your call. Anyway, I text her. You ever heard of this guy, Avicii? She texts back immediately. She says, Swedish DJ. He's a genius. He's my favorite artist. Why? So I typed back. I said, I think he wants me to do a song on his next record. And I see the bubbles come up, one word, bullshit. She calls me up and I'm like, whoa, no. And I'm like, I start to give a response and my phone rings. Now I know it's serious because she's willing to waste valuable voice time. Dear old dad, so she goes, Dad, are you serious? Is this real? I mean, are you punking me? Like this can't be a joke. Like, what he means to me, right? If this is a joke and this is not something that's real, don't even say this to me. She goes, if this is real and you don't do it, she goes, I'm out. This is what she tells me. She says, I'm out.
Ultimatum.
No, I look at the phone. I'm thinking, first of all, she was 19. She lived on her own. I wasn't paying any of her bills. She was already, I was like, what do you mean you're out? She goes, try me. That's what she said. Now, as she's saying this, my phone buzzes again and I know it's the song. So I'm like, okay, well, I just wanted to know if you knew him. So hang on, I'm going to listen to the song right now and let you know. She goes, I don't care what it is, do it. That's her answer. So I hang up from her and I listen to the song.
So where's your headspace at this point?
My headspace is, okay, my daughter is infatuated with this guy. What is this? What is this song? I have no expectation.
Okay.
Nothing.
And was it a produced version?
It was 2 guitar strings, boo doo 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 doo, and a vocal. That was it. There was no production. It was a just stone cold, dressed down bare demo.
So scratch vocal kind of a thing.
And an acoustic guitar playing 2 strings. That's it.
Okay.
Now, in my mind, I'm a bluegrass guy. I hear everything with banjos. I hear, like, in my mind, the version that I cut is what I heard immediately. Like, I heard it as up tempo and fast, and I was like, oh my God, it's kicking. It's like, it was a bluegrass song in my mind. So now I listen to the song, realize my daughter loves him, think it's such a different, weird style of music. I was like, this will never connect. So I call back my assistant and I'm like, listen, I said, my daughter loves him. I actually really like the song. I said, what? I said, is this something we could do? I said, what's no big deal? I mean, no one ever hears it. Big deal. We do the song and it's one more song we've done. Right. And of course my thoughts of it is, no one will ever hear it. And then, a couple months later, it's #1 in 16 countries at the same time. And it's a Super Bowl commercial and my phone's blowing up and people are going, dude, is this you? Because your name is not on this thing. What's going on? Like, it became such a big deal in my life and honestly led to so many of, if not all of anything that I have written since then. I have written for finding the courage to step outside of the box with something like I did through that Hey Brother experience with Avicii. I mean, I did not have a clue what I was getting involved with when I did it, or the potential of how big it could be or how many people it could touch. And it's since profoundly changed my life. It's led to all of the songs I'm writing and a lot of the people that I'm writing with. Just it's opened up doors. It changed
your perspective on
being
closed-minded.
Changed everything. I thought things should, I never thought of really trying to step as far outside. I mean, ultimately what it led to, the first thing I did after that was the Southern Gothic record, which was an experiment in writing music that didn't occupy any, occupied real estate. I was trying to make songs that were unlike everything else, that didn't have a genre, that didn't have anything except what they were. never meant to make that record. I was, I had a writer's deal with Barry Coburn and 1010 Publishing. And as I would turn these songs in that I was writing, with random guys, he would send them to, people unbeknownst to me, and the record label got back to him and said, listen, we like these songs. We would like to do this, but we don't really know who they belong to. Would Dan want to do a record? Just let him sing these songs. They should be out there. We don't know who to give them to. And they made me an offer that I thought it would be just so much fun to exercise something different. And that it took me so far out of the box that when I started writing bluegrass music again, I started trying to write things that were unlike everything, else. I tried to apply the same, the same formulas, the same sense of how I wanted these songs to be perceived. And I still will write a song, that still sounds like an old bluegrass song, now and then, but it's led me to write things that I'm so proud of that I never in no way would ever have done if not for Tim Bergling reaching out and saying, would you like to do this song called
That's
Hey
amazing.
Brother? I was like,
what was that process? So like from hearing the scratch tape to the actual recording, was he, because in the documentary, the newest one on Netflix, there was him producing one of the songs on the track. Was he there, or did you track different over? Like, how did that work?
Okay, so this was interesting in that I had no idea what was going to be done with that song. I recorded that vocal to a click track and sent it. I never met him. He was in LA. I was in Nashville.
So you recorded it here in town.
I recorded it here in town to a click track. I mean, I took a guitar and I don't even know if it was a guitar. I think he hit a piano key. It was in G. And so he hit a G note, whatever that is. That's probably not a G, but he hit a note. And I listened to the note, and there was, in my ear, and I had that note, and I just sang the song, man. Everything that's on that song, he built around he laid the vocal into, like, he did all his magic after the fact.
Yeah.
I had no sense of what that song was going to be when I recorded it. None. Zero. Nothing. It was a dry vocal with no music, not even the guitar.
So
no
you
music.
didn't even have, so you were cued off with a key and a click, and you had to just stay on the key of G.
Yes.
That entire time.
Yeah.
And then you sang it, and then there's a bunch of like doubles.
There's harmonies and stuff that he went back once mine.
And you sang all that as well?
No, Gabe.
I was just curious if it was you.
So we had people come in and sing to that as it was. Because of course now once the vocal's on there, well then, you got a click, you got a vocal. Probably the easiest to sing harmony to that because there's no music to get in your way. Harmony, no problem.
Yeah.
Really, the lead vocal, no problem. It's not that it was hard to do. It wasn't. It was easy to do because you had a click track, so the timing was there. I had a note that I could hear, so the pitch was there. What was hard was to imagine what it was going to be, and again, I might not have sang it the same way had I heard the music. Like it might have inspired different stuff. I mean, I was imagining what the music was as I was singing. So, and it was completely different than what it ended up being.
So what was that first listen like?
Shocking. Just straight up shocking. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I actually heard my phone rang before I heard it. It was out and people were hearing it before I heard it. Like I didn't have a first listen, check this out. We're getting ready to release. Man, I sent him a dry vocal. The next thing I know is I got a call from a buddy who said, dude, there's this guy trying to rip you off, man. It's this pop song and it's totally trying to sound like you, but you're not on it, man. And I said, I was like, is it Hey Brother? He goes, yeah. I said, dude, that's me. He goes, he goes, your name isn't on it. He goes, I looked everywhere. I said, yeah, I was work for hire. I was just, I might as well have been like a harmonica or whatever. I was just a part of the cast. He goes, dude, this is going to be a big song. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then, more people started calling and then I started seeing it had over 1 billion streams, that first year. I mean, even this year, okay, this is 13 years later, Spotify still had over 1 billion streams.
Yeah.
On Spotify. I mean,
I looked at that and
1 billion plus, that's huge.
It's on the top, it shows you your top Spotify songs. I think it shows 1 through 5 and then it starts to show 6. And I think it's at 6. So you're still in the top.
How many years later is
that? It's crazy.
No, it's completely kablooey right?
Yeah.
But again, it's one of the greatest things that could have ever happened to me to kind of smack me into some awareness of something that I wasn't quite aware of, until then. So
Yeah.
it opened me up for sure.
Okay. That's awesome. Thanks for telling that story. I want to hear the Man of Constant Sorrow story as well, because if my dad was here right now, he would be so proud that I'm talking to you in the first place, because that was our song. And we both played guitar, and I always put my guitar in drop D, and I had no clue how to play that. And I could never figure out, like, because it's fast, like, how is this? What is this? Still could never figure it out. So me and him always butchered it, but we sang it and played it together our whole lives. Ever since 2001, when that movie came out, that was like the tune that me and him always like tried to like harmonize to.
It had a quality that brought people together. The whole project, really. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? As a whole, that soundtrack, it made people want to sing along, right? It was that spirit. It was sing along. And yeah, for some reason, Man of Constant Sorrow, yeah, it hit people like that. I mean, this story has been such a common story throughout my career, that of the kids that have played this song with their dads and with their sons and brothers playing it with each other, and family members getting together at reunions. And this is what they do. They spend all their time apart and they get together. And what do? They reenact that song. Like, it has had a profound meaning in a lot of people's life. It's been fantastic to watch, all that stuff unfold, and to think that I was ever, any part of it. I mean, in the grand scheme, very, very small part of what, they did with all that stuff. But that song, and little kids, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids, for whatever reason, love this song. And now I've been a songwriter for a while. I started writing, and since you try to dissect songs and understand them and what it is. And the song, I mean, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but it almost doesn't make sense, like, compared to other songs. If you think of it in this way, it goes do 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 do. Then one more time it goes do 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 do. Then it does it again. Da 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 da, and then again, and then again, and then again, 30 plus times. It never does anything, never changes, never goes any, never does anything.
No
but
chorus.
One thing over in any other song. If you took any other song and played one part of it, that one lick of it, and you just played it over and over and over again for 3 minutes, it would drive you insane.
Yeah, people would stop listening.
Oh no, it would drive you away from music, right? But somehow this magic has dun 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 dun. Now, I put this together, a while after it happened. My favorite guitar player, and we talked about him, is Tony Rice. And most Tony Rice solos work out of a pattern. It's the same lick. I challenge you to find a Tony Rice solo that doesn't have that lick in it.
Wow.
It's his thing, right? There's some power in that chromatic scale, or whatever that is, whatever scale that is, right? There's some power in it. And what a thing to get to be a part of, to watch that song have such an effect on just music in general. Like, it pulled people out of the woodworks. Our demographic changed after that soundtrack came out. I mean, we were used to seeing a certain type of people in the audience, and after that, all of a sudden, man, we had rock and roll t-shirts, and we had spiked hair, and we had academics, and we had everybody came out of it was just, all of a sudden, man, it was cool.
Was this at the Alison Krauss Union Station
Absolutely.
gigs?
Yeah.
Is that Union Station named after the one downtown?
The Union Station was the name of a band that Alison joined when she first started playing with them. She started playing with a band that was called Union Station, and because of her unique talent, people just referred to them as, well, little Alison Krauss and Union Station, and it just stuck. But I don't think it was from the Nashville Union Station. It was from a Union Station somewhere.
Yeah, when I first heard that's Union Station, I was like, oh.
It's been
Dan Tyminski.
It's been thought that, but yeah, it's Union Station was the The chicken or the egg? Let's see, which one was first? Union Station was first.
There you go. So has there been do you ever feel like you hit, like, career wise, you got 14 Grammys. I watched you play last night with Allison at I don't know what those fancy events are, but it was in front of the Obamas when he was president.
Sure.
So much crazy stuff you've done in your career. Was there ever a mountaintop moment where you were like, you're super driven to accomplish something? Or was it always one of these things where it was just collaboration and love for it? Like you said earlier, you never got paid or tried to get money. You just needed pay. You got paid to travel, not paid to play music.
I loved playing music. I knew I was a musician when I was so far back as my memory goes. I've always known it was music, right? I didn't really consider, that I had to make a living playing music. Like it was, I never, I it's hard to say this without sounding like a schmo, but like I've never played music for money. Even when I went back with Allison, because I was with I joined Allison's band there for a few months, and then actually went back to the bluegrass band that I was previously with, the Lonesome River Band, spent another year and a half, and then went back to Allison. And everyone says, well, you had to, you just had to have that money. And I was like, it's hard to explain to someone who doesn't play music, man. I played music. I wanted to play my favorite music, and they played my favorite music. It was my favorite. It was my dream band. It was the dream arsenal of types of songs, more than I ever thought I would be a part of. I mean, I had very low expectations going into music. I did not, when the opportunity to play in such a complete band was just something. It would have been a mistake for me. That it's how I really found myself as an adult musician. Really was being in that band and having that type of, everything was very much on purpose. I mean, they weren't just picking anything they could to have fun. I mean, songs were put together for a reason. Types of songs were strung together, all with a purpose. It was more purpose-driven situation than I'd ever thought I would find myself in. And that band, I could talk for forever about it. I mean, I did so much more with them than I ever thought I would do in my career ever. I mean, when did I first feel like I'd made it? I think it was the day I joined. The day I joined, I mean, to me, there were mountains bigger than anything I could have ever achieved doing anything else with any other band. And honestly, it was before she even really took off. So it was a roller coaster ride, almost like a rocket ship roller coaster ride, that every time something happened, it was just bigger than before. It just kept, it's weird to find yourself in talking with presidents and kings and queens and the stuff we got to do, it doesn't seem real. It's definitely not real in my life right now. I'm kind of back to the drawing board, out there trying to earn a name again and doing all this stuff. And I think about the things that I've already done. I mean, it's to play on the stages that we played on, from, you name it to you name it, Carnegie Hall on down or across, whichever way you go from there. There's no way to put really words to it. It's so much more than I thought I would ever do, that it started being surreal. I mean, it was surreal. It's been surreal for decades for me.
That's cool, man. So for you, the vibe I'm getting is that you were never really like, this is what the vibe I'm getting. A lot of people, they have this thing in mind and they think, when I get this thing, I'm going to be happy. Like, I find this to be a thing with myself, or human nature, maybe. What I'm hearing from you is gratitude, not like I had to hit this mountaintop and then the next mountaintop was there and then the next one was there, because of your love for music.
I have been very comfortable throughout the course of my life to try to determine whatever the wave was underneath me and just ride that wave. I didn't look to see what wave was coming or think about that there might be a better wave. I've been very in the moment for a whole career. I've said it was like a lottery win to hit that job, because I got in a situation that made me become conscious of so many things that were important that they led me to be who I am. But I never had a sight and said, as soon as we get there, it's going to be great. No, man, I realized I could play at a really young age. People were fascinated with it. So, I've had my butt kissed, for a lifetime. It's hard to be humble when everyone is just automatically likes you when they don't know you, So it's weird to be a musician, like being a musician. You're not supposed to have all that praise all the time. People, it's why there's a lot of weird. It's unnatural, right? I've always been very aware that I've been so lucky. I mean, really lucky. Lucky is a bit, what you could say, whatever, blessed, or you could use whatever, to be in the company that I kept. I mean, I kept the absolute best company you could keep for the entirety of my career. And I'm still kind of in that situation, though I'm kind of starting over and I'm doing some new stuff. The people I'm playing music with right now, I love them so much. I love the process of making the music. I mean, I'm aware that we have to make money. That's the bummer of music. That's part of the responsibility that I was saying before. I never had to worry about that before. Now everybody's got to get paid, and that sucks because that takes away from the art, from what you really do. I've never played music thinking this is how we're going to make this money. There's times in my life I've wished for the money and, been extremely thankful when the money came, and it was never how I thought, and it's still not how I think. I mean, I'm aware of it because it's a necessary evil, but now if I ever play for money, you'll know as soon as you start watching. It'll look like a pose. It won't. I don't think you'll believe it for a second.
Do you think that is because you came from a bluegrass background?
I won't try to pretend I know why. I don't really know why. I mean, I think that the bluegrass background for me represents kind of a community. So I do think there's a very community feeling, and it's kind of everyone helping each other. Right? Like you do support each other, and there's a lot of that. But I mean, that's just kind of that's kind of life, how life should be. Just anyway, in or out of music, there should be some sense of community. Like helping each other to do that stuff. I mean, again, I've talked to a lot of people in my life who have, and I've heard this question, where they say, I'm just not sure what to do, what I should do, what direction I should go. Like, I can't imagine a life without certainty of what you were going to do. I've had that weird, just lucky, just certain, ordained, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I've had a certainty of what I was going to do my whole life. I've never said to myself, geez, what if I switch careers, or what if I didn't? Man, I don't know anything else. I've never thought in any other direction. There's no, is
there do you feel like there's a spiritual component?
Yeah, I've always, I think I was called to play music. Yeah. I mean, as soon as it made itself known to me, it was just, me and music were just a big hug. It's never stopped running in my head while we're talking. It's still, it still plays.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I've not had a life where I would call myself a big music fan. I don't collect music. I've never had a record collection, a tape collection. I mean, I don't seek music out when I'm not. I do other things, golf, foosball, do anything else. Coffee beans, right? But music, more so than anything in my life, has always been a part that I've always been very comfortable with that. So I can't even relate to someone when they, young kids. I've had people ask me, they said, my kid, he's really good and he's thinking about playing music. Right. And what do you think? What do you think he should do? I said, definitely don't play music. I mean, if it's a question, then it's not for you. If it's for you, that's not something that will ever be asked. You just do it.
Mm. That's a great answer to a common question. And I think a lot of young people are like, should I move to Nashville? Should I not move to Nashville? Like it's a calculation. And then that art meets money thing is real, makes art weird makes music weird.
Just-
But that becomes the focus way too fast.
It's sure. And because we have access to all that stuff now where, it's just, you can see
Yeah.
every rags to riches or success or anything, just it can hit. I don't know. I mean, all the musicians, everyone that I know that like my favorites, the people I respect, that I admire, the people that I look at, I don't think one of them ever said, I'm going to make this is my choice. They were just musicians from when they were reared
it
on
wasn't a
up.
question.
They just played, they chased it. They played, I've had young people ask me, well, what do I do? Like, I can tell when they're the real ones because they're just there. All of a sudden, here's this kid and he's just there. Even if he's not talking, he's just standing there. And those are the ones who are going to have the work. They're the ones that are putting themselves in the arena. They don't even know why. They're just there. They're just always going to have access to it.
Yeah.
If you're wondering whether you should go or not, you might not want to go, but yeah, if you just put yourself out there, if you're there.
If you know. Yeah, man, because God gave you that gift, and I think he gives everybody gifts, and
there's no doubt.
And for you, he gave you that
it.
gift, and it's cool to just that it's impacted the world on the level that it has with the reach just through songs that weren't even, like that Avicii story is crazy, that you'll never know the stories of the families of all of them some of those songs. And then your stuff that you put out as artist as well, it's in your top songs, and it's off the record where it's black and white and red. I forget the title of it. It's like a sad song. Heads, tails you lose.
So I think the one you just kicked off, that's it was late one night in the heart of town. I was drinking all. Heads you win, tails I lose. I can't get the upper hand no matter what I do.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
Right. You'll always be the winner, and I'll always be the fool. Heads you win, tails I lose.
Dude, that's a song, man.
There's, when you find those songs that work for you like that, it's an amazing feeling. That's been one of the blessings through my career. No kidding, that I've always had people looking for me, like Alison, more so than anyone, man. She loved nothing more than finding the right song for me. Now, I didn't always think it was the right song for me, but that was something like, that was her, like she was a huntress, man. She was all about finding that right song. And the first one that I ever really found myself realizing, wow, that's how important the songs are. Because I grew up just wanting to play music. I didn't care what the songs were, what they were about. Didn't matter, man. As long as I was playing, it
that's
didn't
how
matter.
I was, man. And then Nashville's such a song town.
That right, and she, I found myself joining a very song band. That it was all about the song. And then when she found me songs, I've maybe never seen her happier than when she found the right song for me. She loved that aspect of being in the band. She was a very selfless band leader. I mean, she did not really want the spotlight on her. Really, if she could get around it, she wanted to show off the band, and she wanted to be a part of that unit. And it was pretty neat to get that type of schooling. It's necessary.
Yeah. What are some of the struggles that you faced in that career? Because this is something I often wonder about, especially for the life of a professional musician when you're gone a lot and you have kids.
I was just going to say balance. The struggle is clearly balance of your work time and your family time. That's the really the toughest thing to get a handle on.
Is it achievable?
It is. It's achievable. Anything anything you spend your effort doing is achievable. I mean, achievable is a relative word, right? So I find, like, right now I have a very good relationship with my kids. Like, we can talk about anything. We can, call them about anything,
Well, golfing with them is very indicative of a good relationship.
Well, yeah. So, if you spend your, I was gone a lot, and my 3 kids had 3 different fathers. I was home a lot for one, I was gone completely for one, and I was somewhere in between for the other one. Right. But it's more about what you do when you have the time. Like, what do you, it's so like, if like, even say someone who didn't travel, if you have the guys working 9 to 5, right? You the typical 9 to 5 dad. Well, if he comes home from work and he's tired and he lets you know he's tired and he goes right to his thing or whatever, and he turns away, well, what good is being home, right? If he comes home and he's tired after that day and he still says, even though I'm tired, my family is the most important thing. Well, it doesn't matter that whether you travel, whether you're home, it doesn't matter. What do you do when you walk through those doors? If your family is the important thing in your life, when you're there, they feel it, and you can have a relationship. You can survive. Now, I say this having an ex-wife, that hard to say that it wouldn't be that situation had I been home more. I was really attentive to the kids. Probably more so than my ex, because my life was all about the kids. Everything I thought about was my kids. Everything, the reason I got on that bus, I still thought about the kids. I mean, I was a musician. Yes, I played for me. I did what it was. My life is, for the most part, been pretty easy in that way. But no, it was always about the kids. It was always about what I did with the kids. I mean, when I was home, I was on the little league field, 7 days a week, 2 different ages, and they had to be, and whatever the function was. Yeah, I made myself available when I was home to be available. And I think that's the difference. Is it difficult? Yeah. If you walk through a door and you're tired, it's difficult to pick yourself up and say, okay, I have to be someone, but
it's intention.
Your kids have no idea that you're tired. All they know is dad's been gone. When he walks through the door, you're a schmuck if you can't say, here's the important thing right now. What are we going to do, kids? And, I did what I could. I obviously a lot of things I missed. Those are the only, I don't really regret anything, because life unfolds the way life unfolds. You do the best you can. You control the controllables. And I tried to do my best with controlling the controllables. I didn't have control over a lot of things. I made myself 100% accessible to the band. My band was, definitely came first, and work came first. If I had to be gone, I had to be, I didn't tailor anything from the band around my home life, for sure. But that doesn't mean you can't make the most of your home life, because everybody has enough. And I don't know if anybody tries to make the most out of every moment. It's hard to do. But that's what you have to keep in mind. That's the challenge.
Yeah. I find that we have he just turned 2 days ago, 2-year-old boy. And
that's beautiful,
it's
man.
our first child. But I find that, because it's, to me, I get home and it'll be like close to his bedtime. He goes to bed at 6:30. And if I get home at like 5 or something, I'm like, I need to make sure that I have like quality over quantity. Like he knows
Always.
I have, like, I'm with him, being with him, bonding with him. And then I try to make the weekends, like, I don't use a phone unless it's for emergencies. I have a whole separate phone that I just use so I can be present. And I was at on his birthday, we took him to Opry Mills, the mall, and because they have a little kid playground. And we took him during the day. It was Monday. And I was sitting there, and there was a daughter and a dad, and the dad was on his phone the entire time. And I'm like, man, I don't want to judge you for your being on your phone. Maybe there's some life circumstances, but you could be making a moment with your daughter right now.
Here's what I'll say to that.
I'm saying?
Here's what I'll say to that. Kids know.
Yeah.
Kids know if they are your priority or not, and they react accordingly. You might not don't mean you, any person might not be there as much as they want to be there, but when they're there, how they handle themselves when they're there is much more important than how much time they're there. Because if you're there every day and you ain't getting it done, I don't care if you're there every day. You might as well not be there, right? It's more about what you do while you're there, because kids 100% feel it. They know. Like, I had parents, they weren't very into each other. Beat the hell out of each other. Fought every week of my life. I've seen more than most people. Would be a whole nother podcast. We want to get into what tough childhoods are with parents who are abusive to each other. But what I knew,  beyond anything else, was they were very pro me. I knew as a kid when they were, the time they gave to me, that was genuine. I knew they loved the shit out of me, right? I knew they did not love each other. They had their own issue, whatever, right? And I think with any kid, I can see it in other, I'm a study of people. I'm a study of that stuff. And it's very important to me. And how you treat kids is really one of the most, maybe the most important thing. I mean, that's how we continue, is how our next generation comes up.
Yes.
How they're treated, the respect they're given, what they're allowed and not allowed access to is of critical importance. And we should all be just aware that they know when we're not giving them our all. That's as far as I go there.
That's well put. And I see that in a 2-year-old. I mean, he's smart, and I think he's a lot smarter than, I think young kids are way smarter than we even could understand.
They all are.
Yeah.
They all are. It's
and he repeats every
amazing
word I say. I have to be careful.
Which really does make you think, right? It's like, wow,
mirror.
how do I need to be, right?
Correct.
How do I need to be? It's still my biggest compliment to this day. Has nothing to do with music whatsoever. It's whenever someone comes up and says, I met one of your kids, and what a nice person, or I just, like, you should be really proud. Like, whenever someone compliments the kids, that just makes me feel, music was easy. Raising them kids was hard. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Easy because you love them, you do whatever, but you have to be.
Would you say your biggest accomplishment, bar none?
Kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's the answer I always hear.
I have 3 souls that wouldn't be there. That would, music, I'm thankful to music because they allowed me to have the life that I had. And again, my ex, even though we're not together, she couldn't have been a better mom. That's the one thing we agreed on was we were kid raisers, man. We knew how to turn it toward the kids. We just love the hell out of the kids.
Yeah, that's great. Because my parents were like that. They're divorced, but I had, like, my dad was my best friend. I was so close with my mom, and me and my brother both knew we were deeply loved, even though they fought a lot. And
that was my situation completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I kind of relate. It wasn't the abuse that you're talking about, but the just fighting and, like, all the time, the not getting along, but then the love piece of knowing, like, oh, I'm loved, and that, and that's
the most.
So beautiful.
It is the most important thing to give that kid security, like, because anything there's going to be a lot of problems, right? Like anything, you don't have to look too hard for the problems, right? But I heard this a while back, and this is the truth of it. It's really not the tragedy that happens to you, really isn't what shapes you. It's how you dealt with the tragedy. Because there's going to be tragedy of some sort, shape, size, whatever. Okay, fine. How was it dealt with? Was it acknowledged? Was there growth? Tragedy is not a big deal. Not dealing with a tragic situation, huge deal. And when parents choose not to deal with their kids, or heaven forbid, my other pet peeve is, when the TV becomes a babysitter, let's
talk about it.
Well, let's talk about it.
Because I want to talk about it.
It's not a babysitter.
It's not a babysitter, nor is an iPad.
No, it's not.
One of my non-negotiables in parenting has been Harlan is not going to be entertained by a iPad or an iPhone. He's not going to have a cell phone. We're not going to watch cartoons.
Well, again, I said
read books.
My kids were made to go outside and play. They were made to read books. Like, they were made, like, this is where we say parenting is hard. And this is where I say, like, my wife, my ex and I really were on on the same page on what it was to be kids, to raise kids, to show them. And they had, in a court of law, technically, I guess we had video games in the house. It existed at a certain point, and there was, of course, a TV in the house. It existed. But man,
there were probably parameters as well.
Oh no, it was a last resort, and there was a level on. There was that's it. There was never more than an hour or 2 max for a movie of TV. That was the most there ever was at any one time. It did not stay on. Like, I grew up the opposite. The TV stayed on in my house. I never stopped watching TV. I literally never, I was raised by the TV, you know. The rest of the world doesn't have music out there to save them like it did me. TV is not the babysitter, is all I can keep saying it over and over again because it's just.
And at least your TV was wholesome.
It was a little different in the 60s, you know, early. Yeah, TV was a little different. I mean, in some ways it was more wholesome. In some ways it wasn't. We had horrible cartoons that had people, you know, being promiscuous and smoking and doing all kinds of gambling. And also, you know, cartoons weren't nearly as governed as they might be now, you know.
I'm just thinking of the Andy Griffith Show.
So again, I had the good shows. I did. I grew up on Andy Griffith was a big show. I loved it, and I've become a fan since then. I can recite most of them. I'm a big Andy fan.
Me too. That's what I watched growing up a little bit.
But just when it comes to raising kids, you know, everyone has their own situation, and I'm not going to say anyone's doing anything right or wrong. Yeah. But you can see.
Well, the studies
trends.
are out.
You can
the
see
studies are out. You can look
the
at the
trends,
science,
right?
You can see it.
I mean, just look at the face of a kid watching TV after a couple hours. You know, it's the same face they would have if they just shot up heroin.
Yeah, it's dopamine.
It's that same just out.
Man.
And the experiences, even though you learn things from a television, you don't experience them in with enough dimension for them to actually do you any good. You see how something works, but you don't understand it. Not than if you go and you live your life, if you cut your finger trying to fix something rather than watch a video on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, there's a time and a place. And I think YouTube particularly has some amazing things to offer, but there's a lot of life to live, and balance is the key word here. Balance.
Yeah. And the right age. But I'm with you, man. Cause that's been huge for me. Cause like you, I grew up outside. Playing sports, getting dirty, falling on my bike, and then sitting with a guitar in my room, listening to the radio, trying to figure out how they played parts and stuff like that. You know, that sounds like what you did too. But you were listening to bluegrass records and
no records. My parents were music fans. I started going to.
So where did you just pick up and just start learning?
Mm-hmm.
Without records.
Started going. Correct.
So you just had a musical memory in which you could.
We went to see live music every week somewhere. This was the source of my parents fighting because they like to go out and party and drink, and then we come home and then there was a fight, and then the cops were pulling one of them away. It was just always right.
Yeah.
But between all that, there was music. Now they had to drag me kicking and screaming. I never wanted to go because I knew what was going to happen, right?
Uh-huh.
So I hated to go. But then once we got there, the only thing there was the band playing. So I just sat there and, you know, watched whoever interested me in the band. Now, early years, it was country bands. Then it was kind of square dances and then some fiddle contests. And then they started finding the bluegrass festivals. And once I started going to the first bluegrass festivals won me over. There was a community there. There were people just accepted me. I didn't play anything, you know, I was 5 or 6 years old, but I was still jamming with them. I think my first jam session, I had a little Jews harp like this. I was plinking it like this, stayed up till, you know, all wee hours of the morning, you know. I just felt loved. I felt safe. Everything about it was amazing. So the bluegrass festivals kind of ended up trumping everything else, but I just saw a lot of live, whatever music was being made. Didn't matter if they were selling beer and playing music, I was there.
Yeah. If there's one genre that I still feel like has the most innocence, it would be bluegrass in my mind. That comes to my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it is to me, like for me, it was the sweetest, best environment, most family oriented. I mean, even though, you know, you could look at a lot of bluegrass content and say, well, there's a lot of hard songs, you know, and a lot of drinking, a lot of killing, a lot of whatever. And okay, so be it. But that was never the spirit. It was always community, accepting, very loving. I mean, I found the entire experience growing up, particularly the bluegrass festivals, couldn't speak any higher of anything, man. It was how I wish my kids could have experienced that more. Unfortunately, they didn't experience the festivals nearly like I did because I was always gone playing them. They spent more time at home. So,
yeah. But speaking of bluegrass and great bluegrass, you have a new record. at the from the Ryman.
I do. I just had a record. They just, the Grammys just finished up. We did not win the Grammy, but we did receive a Grammy nomination, which was, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's an honor to be nominated. There's a lot of music out there being made, and to think that people will recognize you in any way like that is great. But no, it was a show that we had booked for the Ryman Auditorium, which I was really excited because it's just one of the amazing venues that people get to play. And I was talking with a friend at the cigar shop, and said, "Man, I'm playing this show." I said, if I just put some money behind it, I'd love to record it. I said, it'd be amazing. Yeah, I can make it. I'd love to make it a record. And he was like, "Well, if I can help make that happen, let me know." And I had a friend step in and allow this record to be made. I don't have it without Joe. So I'm really thankful.
Wow.
To my buddy who stepped in and allowed me to record this for time, because it's one of those things, if you could do a live record somewhere and you got to choose anywhere, arguably that would be kind of the most voted place that you could get, the Ryman Auditorium. It is.
Yeah.
It still is the Queen Mother Church.
It is, man. The Mother Church of country music. And I feel like most people should watch the Kim Burns documentary on country music.
Yeah.
But if they haven't, the history is amazing. But the Grand Ole Opry was there for ever before they built. I mean, the history of it's just incredible.
It was a big deal
music.
to me growing up. My parents were huge, WSM fans. They, and I grew up hearing about the mystique of the Grand Ole Opry, and so it was the first place I went when I came to Nashville. My first trip to Nashville was to the Ryman back before it was restored, and it was the most amazing experience ever. And then of course the career progresses, and I found myself, playing the Opry and, standing on that stage, and you want to talk proud parents, man. That's you want to make your parents proud, play the Opry.
Yeah, man.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, it is, dude. My first time seeing the Opry was at the Ryman, because they sometimes in the winter put it over there.
Yeah.
And so I went and I bought a ticket by myself, and we had lived downtown. And I just walked there, and it was magical, because I'm a big history person, and I had watched that documentary, all the episodes, and I was just, flabbergasted at the history that happened in that room.
Oh, it's that's what gets you. I mean, I remember walking in and just doing my best to filter through as many acts that I knew like that from, I mean, man, you name it, from Elvis on down, man. I mean, everybody played that stage, and it was, and became someone on that stage. I mean, think of it, man, Bill Monroe. If it wasn't for the Opry, do we even have the bluegrass music we listen to today?
Mm-hmm.
If not for that stage,
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then the Ernest Tubb record store, which people would go to afterwards and play at. And there's a lot of cool history downtown that I think most people don't know when they're visiting. I need to bring up a song though from the record, because I've been listening to it on repeat. So first off, it's on vinyl, which I'm a big fan of vinyl. Me and my son like to go to the record store and pick out vinyl. And so I think there's a huge vinyl resurgence, as you probably already know.
And I think there should be. I think it makes you listen to music differently.
Yeah. My interest in one of these tunes, and it's just
how did I not bring a vinyl? I was supposed to bring you vinyl, dude.
It's all good.
Wait, I will amend this. I will make sure.
No,
I will make triple sure. This is what happens. This is what happens when I take care of my own business.
No, man.
See,
I'm the same way. I'm ADHD.
If you would have done this through my manager, my assistant, or my wife, I would have.
No, but it's not as fun that way. Now I get to see you again. Or maybe there's a show. I know you're playing the Opry in like April or something, or the Ryman. Sorry.
Yeah, playing the Ryman.
I was looking at your schedule.
I'm not sure on the date, but I know we have a.
I know you have a date
coming up.
But I'm going to go to that. But God-fearing Heathen. That song, out of everything, even though, I mean, I just want to say that one really hit me.
Thank you. And it hit me once I realized that I wasn't joking, because that's a lot of my songs are born in the same place. You know, I sit out on my back deck with a cigar, and whatever we're talking about ends up, coming into the writing arena. And I was talking with my wife, and I forget exactly what we were talking about, but I remember the question. She said, well, can you describe yourself in the fewest possible words for me? And I was sitting there, and I had a glass of bourbon in one hand, and I had a cigar in the other hand. I looked down, I said, I'm a God-fearing heathen. And I said it as a joke. She chuckled. But as soon as I said it, bing, like this. And I immediately thought, okay, that's a sign. I said, hang on, baby. And I wrote it down, and I think I wrote it down, a couple different versions of it. I've still got on my phone. And I was like, who can I write this with? And Iradine popped into my head. I've written a bunch of songs, and I knew that he would know what I meant, that how to present it, and called Ira. And I said, dude, I got a title. I want you to come and write with me. He goes, okay, what is it? And I said, well, I can't tell you. I said, because you'll write the whole damn thing on your way over here, and you'll just show up with a song. I said, I want to write a song with you. He goes, oh, damn you. All right. He shows up, knocks on the door, comes in. All right, Tyminski, what's your damn title? I said, God-fearing heathen. And he just paused, and his face went, and he says, man, I think we could write that. And I was like, yeah, I know. That's why I called you. I know we can write that. Let's go. Right.
Yeah.
And that one came to us quick. We probably, I don't know if we spent any more than a couple hours on that one. And I did like that one so much that I really thought music could only hurt it. Like, I didn't want to make a production, because I wanted to kind of force people into actually listening to those words by giving them nothing else to focus their ears on. Right. So I put that as the title song, just bare bones, guitar and vocal.
Yeah, man. And that's the song that stood out to me most, but it was, to me, the honesty in it, I think, is what I really appreciated, because it struck a chord in me, but I think that's all of us.
Well, I mean, it's
At least, maybe it's not all of us. I'll speak for myself.
It
It's a
kind
lot
of is,
of us.
though. I mean, I mean, more of us than not. I can safely say more of us than not. If that doesn't apply to you, you might want to think of how it should.
Yeah. Well said. There is one stroke of a banjo on the word smoke, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Banjo?
Like one time. Ring.
Maybe I should.
When it says smoke on that recording.
Oh, and the live. Oh, yeah.
In the live.
Oh, yeah. No, that does. Yeah. Because, I mean, I'm sure he was backstage too. That was not supposed to be part of the song.
Well, whatever it was, I liked it, because it was like an exclamation point on the lyric.
Right.
And I was like, that was well thought out, because that's the only place in that entire song that there's anything else.
He probably did do that intentionally. I forgot the live version is a little different. That's right.
Yeah. So the live version is what I love. And the transitions are great. How you guys did track to track.
Well, thanks. That was tough, because the concert was much longer than what we were able to put on vinyl. So we had to figure out how to squeeze. That was the only disappointing part. Is I would have loved for that to have been a double vinyl record, because there was that much more that people are missing.
Yeah, it does get expensive though, pressing vinyl.
We were lucky. I felt so fortunate to be able to make vinyl of this. I mean, that was a big deal for us, because again, I believe in the musical experience.
Yeah.
And I think you get an experience in vinyl you don't get other ways.
Yeah. There's a fidelity. I can hear it.
Well, and there's a meeting of people. There's just the act of having to pick the needle up and put it, like, you have to physically do something that, whether you're aware of it or not, demands you to listen differently than you listen if your thumb is hovering over a skip button. You can now listen to 5 second skip. You can be, as soon as you're, no, skip, no, skip. You can't do that with vinyl. If you've gone through the energy and the intention to start that song, your body, you make yourself listen differently, harder. You hear the fidelity because you're listening for it. Do you listen to fidelity when you have a skip button under your thumb? Have you ever said, God, the fidelity? Fuck, man, we listen to most things on like iPods, like earpods. Like, the way we listen to music now is so bad. It's so lo-fi. Like, Go back 40 years.
DSPs and Bluetooth headphones.
Yeah, go back 40 years, man, and we cared a lot more about how we heard music.
Yeah.
We just cared more. Like music was a bigger deal. Now there's so much of it and it's so easy. I mean, it's convenient, right? But there's the audio files, they're as not as many anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think.
But like the fine arts, like the stroke of a paintbrush, you as an artist, and you can speak to this, put a lot of thought into track orders and how something's going to go together as a body of work.
Absolutely. When there is a body of work, there should be a journey that carries you through in a comfortable way. Yes. I mean, or at least in an intentional way. Sometimes the intent might not be comfort. It might be to make you feel a little uncomfortable, to maybe get a point that the overall the music is trying to make. I mean, there are different ways to attack it, but it should be looked at as a body of work. If you're listening to a project, in my opinion, and again, I think
that's the beauty of vinyl.
I think Alison, really was the first one that made me aware of sequencing and how things should fit together, that it was more important than I gave it credit for in my past. Then when you start making records yourself, then you're forced to have to sequence something. You say, well, what's the best order? And then once you find yourself in that situation, well, then you have to ask yourself, well, why is that better than this way? Why is it better? And then you start realizing, well, it's a little journey. It's kind of like a movie. A movie carries you through a coaster of emotions that hopefully leaves you in a way where, I think I could go back to that. Right.
Yeah.
So your song's sequence is huge, and how your songs work together. I mean, if you have one song that's so emotionally different than the next song, it probably shouldn't be together. Sometimes you need a bridge song that can get you to this song. There's more to it.
The sequencing on the record, that I've been listening to, is just really great.
Well,
it feels intentional, and I know you had to have played a lot of songs. So the songs you chose, I mean, just as a music lover, I can tell that there was a lot of thought that went into it. So.
I appreciate it. It was one of those things you have to. I mean, it was. When I did that project, like I said, we had booked the show first, and the recording of a record came much later, much closer to showtime. So we found ourselves, trying to figure out the best way to make it work. It wasn't, I mean, if I had all the money and endless time, there would have been more. There would have been more music. There would have been, it would have been a little different. But I was so proud when we were all said and done, and it's like that was such a gift. Like I was happier with it when I was done than I thought I would be, because it's really scary to do a live show, for starters. I mean, we've done some stuff like that with Alison, but we recorded multiple nights when we did live stuff with Alison so that we could have our pick of what we needed to. We wore the same clothes, and we did, so you don't know which night you're watching us from. Man, we had one shot, at the Ryman, and we didn't go in the studio and fix solos and do, I mean, you hear what went down. So it was. Yeah,
there's a human aspect to it, and that's what I want.
Live music is about that.
That's what you get in the old days too. On old records, you hear mistakes, and I like hearing mistakes.
That's what I liked about live TV, even back in the day, when you could watch shows that were live and you could see them mess up. Those were my favorite parts of the show.
Yeah, man.
When you go watch live music and you get to hear people. I mean, it's the things I remember, right?
Yeah.
I mean, records are great. To make no mistake. I mean, I endorse them highly, but live music. Dude, that's where it's at. That's where it's at for me.
It hits you different. There's different emotion. It's different hearing it live, and I visualize it. I see it live as I'm listening to it live.
100%. With this, the last thing that we did with that, if you we did, I think, what do they call it, the Atmos mix or the Apple mix, where you get to go, and I got to go in a studio and actually create some element of watching the banjo player walk to the front. So in my mind, when you're listening to that on the Apple mix, where you're inside of it, you can, I mixed it in a way where you could actually see the people come to the center for the solos. So yeah, I always see live music being played in front of me. And it was neat to be able to have a banjo that mostly lived over here. When he's taking a solo, he got to come to the center microphone and play that solo and then walk back. So there's another aspect that can be missed on that if you don't listen through the headphones.
Is that for Apple Music listeners only, for AirPods?
Yeah, I think that's the Apple mix of the, what do they call it? Is it Atmos, or it's an Apple thing. Spatial audio. Thank you very much. Yeah, the spatial audio mix. I don't think it's specific to Apple. I'm actually not sure.
I have
spatial. That's going to be the question, but it's the spatial audio is what you can search for the mix, and it's a different listening experience altogether than I mean, it's two completely different listens. It's two different listens.
Okay, so where can people go to find out about upcoming dates? How can we support you, as you are a phenomenally talented and decorated musician and veteran, but also you're starting, I don't even know how to put it. Like, it's like you're in the early stages of being an artist again.
I'm trying to win the oldest newcomer award.
Yeah, there you go. They need to have a category for that.
I want a new category. I want to be the oldest newcomer out
oldest
there.
newcomer, but that's so cool, man, because like you're in your 50s. That's young still. You got a lot of life.
Oh, I feel like,
man.
I in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm just starting.
Yeah,
I really do. I mean, if my vision were a little better up close, I think I'd be right where I was at any point in my life. I feel good.
Well, there's eye surgery for that, so LASIK.
I'm not going
to wear glasses. But is it dantyminski.com?
Yeah, dantyminski.com and hashtag Dan Tyminski. Everything Dan Tyminski. Check out the Instagrams, check out the Facebook, go to the website. The website, we're currently in transition to where we're now taking over our website to where now we'll actually be responsible ourselves for when something is wrong or not on there. So as you stay with the website, give us just a little more time and it's going to be current and beautiful like it's supposed to be. It's been tough to regain my own website, if that makes sense.
Because of label stuff?
Yeah, through the past few things, it's shifted around where different people have run, and it's connected to it's been hard to take full ownership and just get everything back to where we even have the passwords to go in ourselves and do stuff. But it's starting to everything getting back under our own control. So yeah, please come check out that stuff and come check out the Instagrams particularly. We want everyone very familiar with my dog, Winnie. She's becoming a star, and we'd like to really support her in every way that we can.
Are you still doing the giveaway?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, man. People are going to get some product. We've signed a bunch of stuff that they just have to go there. And I think I explained it on the Insta. I can't repeat it exactly what I said but go check out the Instagram and you'll find out how to get your very own.
And we'll put it in the show notes. And then it's also just because people are going to be like, I don't know if I can figure out how to spell Tyminski.
And I'll tell you what, I'll bring you a couple when I see you again. I'll bring you a couple. You can give you can do. I'll give one out. You can give one out. You can give some on your podcast.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And deal. It's Tyminski, Tyminski. Dang it.
You said it. So it is. It's a tough one if you break it up.
That's why I wanted to break it up.
The easiest way to spell it. Here's the easiest way to spell it. Tyminski. Tyminski. And it's really it's maybe the easiest Polish name that I know. I come from a town with a lot of names that even as a Polish guy, I would not challenge myself to spell, but I've got one of the easy ones. Tyminski.
Yeah, that's what I wanted people to know that are listening. So just in case you want to search it on your phone, that way you don't get lost and find the wrong account.
There are some other accounts. My sister keeps up with it. She will forever. She sends me this. She goes, "Is this you?" She sent me one last night. Is this you? Someone's on there saying, they'll answer any questions that you can ask, whatever. I'm like, no, that is not me. I said, but I do think you should ask some questions just to, I'm
curious if the answers
figure it out, try to find out.
Oh, that's funny. Well, man, I really appreciate your time. I don't know how long we've been going, but it's just been fun to chat with you.
I didn't even wear a watch to look at, man. It doesn't matter. It's one of those days. I've got today to do this. So I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for letting me come on here and blab, man.
Oh, it's cool. It's cool to hear the stories. And it's
cool to get to share them because this is the thing. A lot of people become fans and hear this stuff and there are questions. And I know, like, for me personally, getting to find out some of the inside scoop on the stuff that I'm interested in, it's cool. And it's nice to be able to have a chance. And I appreciate you for giving me that chance.
Anytime. You're always welcome back.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap with Dan Tyminski. Thanks for being here today. Again, please hit like, subscribe, share. I'm doing a giveaway. I'll give away one of his records, but I'm also going to do a giveaway for dinner with me in Nashville Well, me and my wife. It'll be a fun hang. But you have to leave a review, then DM me and let me know. And then I'll put you on the list and you'll be entered. Until then, and until dinner with you, hope you have a great week. And make sure to go follow Dan on all his socials and buy his new record, Dan Tyminski, live at the Ryman. Peace.
This is the Stephan Hogan Podcast.